So now here with another game that is the Vigilante Diaries. So this is developed by Out of the Blue Games, that is, and published by them. That is the developers of American Arcadia, which is think like American Arcadia was an excellent game. I enjoyed that. I even did a full playthrough of that game because it was too good. And now they are doing this one, and this one is like it's like a visual novel, if you want to say it like that. It looks interesting, but it's way different from what they did with American Arcadia. Okay, small. No, I put medium. What? In the vision ties, you won't be able to make decisions you want. In different moments, your decisions will be conditioned by your previous choice in the game and by levels of your statistics. All of them have negative or positive value, but negative will not always mean detrimental, just as positive will not always be beneficial. Therefore, an aggressiveness of +5 can be very helpful in combat, but it will mean a huge problem if you have to keep calm in intense situations. We're gonna become a douche. A knight like any other.
I wonder if this city's worth fighting for. I hope so.
It's voiced. Okay. The genre belongs to LOL. Chapter 0. Prologue. Oh, it's it with arrow? How the hell do you do this? I'm freezing my ass here in here. I must have been out in the streets for 3 hours now, at the corner of 6 and Roll. It's 2 blocks from where I grew up. I'm looking at the Irish pub window through my binoculars. Keens, I used to come here when I was a kid. Wait, why do he say Keens? The owner had a peculiar Irish name, Ciaran. It's pronounced Kieran. Ciaran Keen. As a kid, I always found his full name hilarious. The 3 people I've been keeping an eye on for weeks are here today. Dominic Tanner O'Toole, Carson Bennett and Elisa Mercant. 3 cops, all dirty Lieutenant Cessny, tipping me off about them. They run some kind of under-the-radar unit, call themselves Stronghold. They began small, sticking up small-time dealers, but somehow it snowballed into gun trafficking, blackmailing, protected witness, and extortion. The Stronghold offers protection, they say. They believe they own the city, they have no remorse, and they hide behind their badge. It sickens me. That's why I've been patiently waiting outside while I watch them getting hammered at Keen's. It's their weekly ritual, and I suspect it's where they split the money they make with Stronghold. Drunken cops in an Irish pub, fuck me. These guys are a living cliche, for God's sake. I could have gone after them one by one, but I need to send the message to all 3 of them at once. This Stronghold bullshit ends today, and they better annul the shit. As I wait for the 3 cops to leave the pub, I do what I always do when I'm about to make a move. I mentally repeat the code to myself. It's something I put down in this journal before even my first night out. Guidelines, some principles, some red lines. The first red line was about lethality. How far was I willing to go to impose justice? Could I justify killing, even in self-defense or defense of others? So now it's in Spanish. ¿Y cómo afectaría eso a mi vida? Probably. How that will affect my life. I made a decision. No deaths. Aggressiveness -1. I'm gonna do the end justifies the means. I'm gonna do that. Is that only showing consequence? I have a mission, it's clear to me what I have to do, and not even my own life stands above my mission. Maybe that means doing morally questionable things, among them killing if necessary. That's just the way things are. The second red line was about privacy. Will I keep living a normal life after this? Will I face this struggle on my own? Or will I need help from someone else? And was my need for justice more important than my private life? I made a decision. So what else is this? Secrecy? Spread word. Like I can be needing help, but like not needing help could be good. And I'll probably need help. This one is like the middle. There's always like one that gives plus, minus, and the middle one. Damn, that this is hard. Spread the word. This has to be the beginning of something. I'm trying to wake society up with my action, otherwise my mission is meaningless. This is about more than myself. This has to make a difference. This has to change things. People have to know. The third red line was about my ideology. Why was I doing what I was doing? And what was the ultimate goal of my actions? Was I trying to set an example or open the eyes of society? I made a decision. For liberty, equality, order, principles. America is no more. Society is crumbling. Crime always hits the working class. The system is rotten. Liberty. From the inside out, from top to bottom, citizens live paralyzed by fear while power traps them in a never-ending cycle, and then crime flourishes because all crime is a form of abuse of power, always, unambiguously. The only way to begin something new is to tear down what already exists. I have come to set you free. The three cops finish their last round, pay at the counter and leave. O'Toole and Bennett smoke outside, sheltering from the snow beneath the pub's murky. Markan waits patiently. She's the only non-smoker. I assess the situation. Two of them are drunk as skunk. That's good, but I'm sure the three of them are armored. That's bad. I'll better act fast and take advantage of the element of surprise. In the other circumstance, three cops will mean big trouble, but that's why I've waited for this moment. I needed the three of them to be plastered. Still, I doubt dealing with stronghold can be solved without violence. I hope my brass knuckles and combat knife will be enough, but I always carry the Register 38 revolver just in case. I check the cylinder to make sure it's loaded. I'm ready. O'Toole and Bennett toss their cigarette butts on the ground. The three of them walk to where they parked the car near 7th. I know the area. The shortest route is the alley behind Keynes, the perfect place for me to intercept them. I don't show up with a smoke bomb or hanging off a roof or any kind of that bullshit. I'll probably break my neck if I did. I just cover my face and turn the corner to block their way. I'm not a lunatic or a madman. Fucking nut jobs make me sick, and I don't pretend to be America's public enemy number one. But most of all, I don't want to get caught and fired in the electric chair. That's why I don't want to be identified. That's why I cover my face, a sky mask. I made my own mask, a hood and a banana mask. I made my own. There we go. I needed something custom made, safety first and foremost, but also something distinctive. I'm no craftsman, but with time and perseverance, even the most inept can make something decent. All I needed was a field hockey mask reinforced with metal frame, covered with fiberglass and resin. I couldn't help myself making it red. I know it's a little striking, but it looks menacing. As soon as I made the breathing vent, I knew I made the right choice. This was going to be my face. Bennett, the tall one, is the first to notice me. He frowns. He's not sure he sees what's looking. Hey, O'Toole, look, isn't that the masked guy, Hassel? He says, and he chuckles. He's really smashed. O'Toole looks me up and down, nods, and says my name. It's the... I don't even know what I could put. The Hood Man. Okay, Hood Man. Oh, you cannot give space? Oh, there we go. Hood Man. Cool. When I began this, I knew I had to become a symbol, something that will strike fear into the hearts of criminals. Yeah, Hood Man will put fear. Every time they heard my name, I wanted them to know there was someone out there cleaning up the streets. I wanted them to know the fear that honest citizens know. I'm here to do justice. I'm Hood Man. I could put the janitor. Clean streets, janitor. Alright. Hey you, Bennett Lausch, what the fuck do you want? Markan is silent, she's the least drunk of three. O'Toole is the leader, Bennett is the muscle, but Markan is the brains of that. I step forward. So what else is this? Nervous, is it? So conditions met, aggressive. Tell is TH. Can I see the stats? Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. Nerve, aggro, secrecy, physical, thought, stability, accuracy. Oh shit. My brother, mother, oh shit. God damn. I threatened them. O'Toole and Bennett burst out laughing. Merkin doesn't. She's been staring at me since I showed up. She doesn't drink as much as the other two assholes. Too bad. Then O'Toole pulls out the knife. I see the gleam of the blade out of the corner of my eye. Looks brand new. Alright, now I get the Tanner nickname. You're not even worth wasting a fucking bullet on, you dumbass. I didn't expect this, but the knife is always better than a gun. They definitely don't take me serious. That's good. I won't solve these by talking. That's for sure. You're not even worth wasting a fucking bullet on, you dumbass. Physical. This situation is complicated. These three aren't going to take turns fighting me like this was a kung fu movie. I won't be able to take on three at once. I have to select my first target carefully. Okay, he's an organized intoxicate. He used it to threaten others, to scam people with this Tanner routine. The first time someone drew a knife on me, I wasn't even the legal age, and Ricky the pimp was 2 heads taller than me, probably 10 years old. O'Toole doesn't intimidate me at all. I slap him away with my left hand and use all my strength to punch him in the nose with my right. He takes 2 steps back and looks at me dazed. His mustache is stained at the bottom with nicotine and with blood at the top. I've broken his nose for sure. Thank you, brass knuckle. Fuck, what the? And before he can finish his sentence, I throw a left to his chin. Tyrone Marks will be proud if he could see this. It's not a knockout, but it's close. O'Toole goes down and ends up soaking in snow. I doubt he'll get up. O'Toole remains on the ground as Bennett and Mark come running at me. Kill the motherfucker! Kill him! O'Toole yells from the other side of the alley with what little strength he has left. The other two are coming from me. Bennett's the first. He's so big, he's blocking almost the entire alley. Behind him is Alyssa Marcan reaching her coat. I have to do something. I focus on my fire on Alyssa Marcan. She's the one who's really dangerous. I fire 3 times. The first shot is lost in the darkness of the hall. Its second miss and it's Bennett right in the shoulder. The third it's Marcan in the hip as she jumps off a ledge for cover. She fires back at me. I don't know what gun it is, but it's not a service weapon. She can kill me with it and no one will ask questions. On the top of it off, she's an excellent shot. She's definitely the smartest of the three. Help me, damn it. I need covering fire, she shouts at her companions. O'Toole has turned out to be a cowardly piece of shit. He's beyond cover and afraid to show his face. I guess he's more used to scaring the shit out of innocent people. Bennett is on the ground. I fire 2 more shots. She fires 2 more shots. And then there's complete silence in the alley. I only have a few minutes before I hear the police sirens. Listen to me, motherfuckers. I yell from cover. If I hear another word about Stronghold, if you take just a single dollar from an honest business or threaten a working family again, I'll come back and I'll kill all 3 of you. Do you understand me? Silence. I don't know if the match got through or not, but I can't waste any more time. Okay. So you can see everything that moveth. Near deaths. There is even near deaths.
Masked vigilante terrorizes city streets. 3 police officers attacked. The Observer headline. Morning edition. Next to a composite sketch. Well, whoever drew it managed to get a pretty accurate description of my outfit. I've been sloppy. I gotta be more careful. Yeah, the terrorizes thing wasn't exactly what I was expecting. But I wasn't expecting high praises for what I do either. I should use that to my advantage, in any case. Terrorizes. So I guess this city is afraid of me.
The Vigilante Diaries. Chapter 1, 1958, Origins. There was a sociological profile in the article. Some things were just pure bullshit, but I have to say, some of all the other things were spot on. Working class citizen, an extremely reserved person, probably a war veteran, either Korea or Vietnam. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much me, but I'm not just that. I was born in 1952, years after World War II. I grew up on stories of American soldiers liberating Europe from the Nazis. The Uncle Sam posters, the Times Square kissing picture, fighting for truth, justice, and the American way, and all that. I guess all those glorified war stories have something to do with what I do now. Of course, then came Korea, and after that Vietnam. Spending 13 months in 13 months in Hu and Saigon probably also have something to do with what I do now in these streets. Anyway, I was born in a working class family. I won't say we were poor as church mice, but we weren't exactly well either. I grew up in a hole in the wall on the third floor of 19 Monroe Avenue, at the intersection of Pence and 10th. But it could have been anywhere. All working class neighborhoods were similar back then. Men with sore backs from long days coming home, women keeping in order in tiny 600 square feet apartments full of children, where there was never any peace, children wearing hand-me-downs from their old siblings, tobacco smoke filling the rooms, black and white television set in some place, a radio in all of them, electric radiators in winter, children cooling off with fire hydrants in summer, peanut butter sandwich in McKinley Park. What a happy childhood meant in the 1950s. My dad worked at the docks, another working class hero. As far as I can tell, and despite having hardly any education, he was a well-read guy, beyond the Western dime novels, I mean. He even read Steinbeck when he was in France during the war. I guess the grapes of wrath had a lot to do with him being president of the city's stevedores Union chapter. If you have a problem with the boss, talk to Frank Donovan, they used to say. Mom didn't look anything like a poster-was wife of the 1950s. First of all, because she wasn't a housewife. No matter how much my father insisted, she quit her job. Esther Donovan is not a kept woman, she always replies, so she served tables at Agnus Steakhouse, a restaurant just north past the interstate toward Greenville. All the neighbors said Esther wore the pants in the Donovan house, and they were right. Mom was quite the character. I'm not saying she wasn't sweet and loving, but overall she was as tough as nail and as wise as King Solomon. And then was my older brother Paul. He was 1 year older than me, but we almost looked like twins, like two peas in a pod. A brother at that age means everything: a friend, a confidant, a playmate, and sometimes a rival, someone to fight with over who gets last piece of mom's cherry pie or some other trifle. And we fought hard. Paul gave me my first punch and I gave him his first two. We collected trading cards together, played ball together, watched the Lone Ranger together, read stats comics together. We were always together. And then there was me, an average kid with no distinctive traits. Lol, Donovan. I worry about writing my full name here in case someone finds and reads this journal. It's an absurd worry. If someone finds this journal, it's because they called me. There are much worse things here in my adult. So I believe that I am the protagonist of this story, an average Joe, no remarkable traits, except one. Aggressiveness, what the hell is that one? Tout? Is tout? Okay. What is thought? What is the mom? Aggressiveness. I'm going for that principles. Like father, like son. Dad had strong convictions and he passed on to me that what mattered most in life is were principles and to go to the end to defend them if necessary. He knew his enemies. He thought on what he had done wrong and learned how to improve. And although he sometimes lost his temper, he always had in mind why he did what he did, just like me on the streets. One of my earliest memories is visiting my father at the port. I still remember the smell, a mix of sea salt, fuel, sweat, and smoke. A busy place almost all day long. Noisy as fuck too. If it wasn't stevedores and sailors screaming at each other, it was the sound of mechanical cranes or the squawking of seagulls. At that time, I didn't understand exactly what my father did for a living. I was too young to know what the Union President was. All I knew was that he worked at the port, but he didn't load cargo, run a ship, or operate cranes. He just spent all day in a small office on the docks, which he called his shit house. That was Frank Donovan at his best. Subtlety was never his strong suit. The shit house became another playground for my brother and me. We spent hours in that place as if it was our own house. For my father, it was the headquarters from where he fought for the rights of dock workers, alongside his union buddies, Donovan's boys, they called them. But there were some things my father couldn't take care of from inside shithouse, especially when there were problems with shipping companies. At that time, shipping companies had established that what was known as open shop. It meant free hiring of workers. Being non-union for longshoremen meant that there were no wage regulation, no control over overtime, no paid leave, nothing. And that's why Dad had been on the picket line with his boys for several days to paralyze city port. Without dock workers, the port was as useless as a fishnet condom. The city was losing money and over feast. Even so, the negotiations had gone awry several times already. The shipping companies were desperate, but that was also to dealing with tougher, meaner, more dangerous people. And even those guys always said that Frank Don was a stubborn Irish bastard. Yeah, they were right. But my mother wasn't pleased with the situation either. She took my brother and me to the port to see him one Friday afternoon. I must have been 4 or 5 at the time. The situation we found there was not what we would expect. Things were heating up. On one side of the picket line we were Donovan boys, on the other side the cops. I saw my dad yelling like a maniac. He flipped the bird to the cops at least twice. My father saw us arriving and immediately ran over to us. He was sweating and looked agitated. Esther, why did you bring the kids here, damn it? They are... Dad lowered his voice. I heard what he said, but didn't understand a word anyway. Those fuckers are threatening to call in the National Guard if you don't disband immediately. Then disband, my mother replied. These kids haven't seen their father in 8 days, Frank. You have a family outside of the port too. I know, and that's why I'm doing this. Esther, please, take the kids home. We'll talk later, please. I interrupt them. I'm gonna say this. My father laughed and massaged my hair. He found it hilarious that I whippersnapper not taller than 3 feet from the ground was already as stubborn as he was. You are cut from the same cloth as your father, lol. You know that? Mom sighed. My brother Paul was uncomfortable with the situation. He pointed at the picket line. Mom, Dad, look! Just a few seconds later, the police charged. The screams of the longshoreman filled the air. There was no time for anything. My father threw a bunch of keys at my mother. To the shithouse! Get in there with the keys and unlock the door! He shouted as he ran towards the now breached picket line. I don't come out, you hear me? We lost sight of Dad in turmoil. We just heard him screaming, You motherfuckers, leave us alone! As young as my brother and I were, we couldn't take our eyes off the scene. The police handled out whacks left and right without mercy. Blows to the legs, to the arms, to the head, or direct to the face. It was brutal. Donovan boys ran with their face covered in blood. A group of them fought back. They started a fire. Column of black smoke emerged in the middle of the dock. The whole city was going to know what happened on the pier, and not just from the newspapers. Things calmed down almost an hour after the police charge began. Mom, Paul, and me left the shithouse. We were all as white as sheets from the shock of the horrible thing we'll just witness. We walked along the port. It had been raised from the top to the bottom. A police officer looked at us on our way out. He seemed so surprised to see a woman with 2 children that he didn't even question us. He just let us go. We saw our father come back home that night. A Lincoln Continental brought him. The driver was a guy with a tiny mustache. The one in front passenger seat, a guy with curly black hair and olive skin, took him to the door and shook his hand. Dad was visibly uncomfortable. He went inside and my brother and I hugged him as soon as he walked through the door. My mother did not. She just looked at him from the kitchen with a stern face and asked him who that was. Just a friend. And with that my father settled it. We never spoke about the dog incident again. My father worked at the port. He was present. This only to show the relationship. The mother, that went to -1. My brother trading cards. My brother was a baseball nut. He never took off his Red Sox cap from that Uncle Dog had brought back from Boston. He even had a bat signed by Hank Aaron. I must admit that I didn't care much about baseball except for the trading cards. I loved them. Our collection was amazing. We had all the stars of the era. Al Kaline, White Ford, Ray Moore, Mickey Mantle. Someday afternoon after church, we will go to McKinley Park to trade leftover cards with other kids. A melting pot of Irish, Greek, Puerto Rican, and Italian American kids gathered and traded cards, shouting like crazy, as if they were street vendors. Usually we all respect the rules of the game. From time to time, you could find a close kid who didn't know what his Roy Campanella card was worth, but that was considered fair game. But there were others who didn't respect the rules, like Teeny Theo. His name was Theodorus Markopoulos, but someone had given him that nickname because the kid was fucking huge, almost twice as big as the rest of the kids, both tall and white. Tiny Theo was a shady character. We knew that because Paul had some bad experience with him. Every time someone did business with Tiny Theo, they learned a valuable lesson. Paul hated his guts, that's why we never trade cards with him. Tiny Theo was just a nuisance that most of us traders avoided. But not all the kids who came to McKinley Park constantly knew him. This time it was Louis Aguirre's turn. He was one of the youngest kids there, not even 6 years old, but Tiny Theo didn't care about that. We saw Tiny Theo take the large deck from Louis' hands in exchange for a single card. Unless that was a limited card signed by Babe Ruth himself, that was foul play. Tiny Theo was walking away from Louis. The poor kid didn't even flinch. He still didn't quite get what had just happened with his deck. And then without a word, Paul headed straight for Tiny Theo. I asked him what the hell he was doing. I'm going to get that kid's deck back, damn it. So I cannot do this aggressive because it needs to be -1. This one nervous needs to be 0 or minus, right? So I need to do this. Tiny Tail was browsing through the cards like a greedy banker counting bills. Paul yelled at him, "You fucking thief, come here!" My brother was out of his mind. "Give the cards back to that kid." Tiny Tail turned around. Boy, he was a huge fucking lump. He looked like a Goliath to us. "These are mine. That kid traded them to me," said Tiny Tail as he put the cards in his back pants pocket. "Bullshit, you tricked him. Give him back his cards, you fat fuck." As he finished speaking, Paul charged Tiny Tail. Unsuccessfully, of course, he must have weighed 3 times as much as my brother. Tiny Tail knocked Paul to the ground with one punch, and then immediately threw himself on top of him, pinning his neck with his arms. He was crushing him with all his weight. I tried pulling his hair to get him off my brother. He slapped me and made me fall to the ground. I hadn't even tackled him. I charged at him again, but there was no way. Tiny Tail decided to finish me by punching me right in the nose. I stayed on my knees crying. I burst into tears while the fat turd kept beating the shit out of the Paul. Apologize to me," Tiny Tail yelled. Finally, that a cheating scumbag like him cared so much about restoring his tarnished honor, but he didn't know my brother. "Give him back his cards, you son of a bitch," Paul was crying while punching Tiny Tail in the ribs. It was impossible to get away with that big turd on him. It was hard for him to breathe, but even that situation, he refused to apologize and kept insulting him. Finally, Tiny Tail gave up. My brother lay on the ground coughing and crying. "You are a thief. You stealing son of a bitch," yelled Paul as Tiny Tail walked away. Louis Aguirre approached him more scared and surprised than anything else. He held out his hand to help Paul up. Paul took it, but got up by himself. He would have probably dragged Louis to the ground with his weight. "Thank you," Louis stammered. "I'm really sorry." And then he left. Paul put his hand on his shoulder and helped me up. We returned home, badly beat and bruised. We got +1 with the brother. Playing in the big league. My mother loved to play cards twice a month on Saturday nights when she was free at Agnes. She would set up a game at home. That night, as we finished dinner, my mother spoke to me as we did the dish. "Lol, are you up for a game tonight?" It was the first time my mother had offered to play cards with me. I thought it was an exciting challenge, something for grown-ups, so I said yes without hesitation. "But I'm warning you, this is the big league," she said as she finished placing the plates on the dish rack. "Don't expect any special treatment just because you are the youngest, understood?" I wouldn't have expected anything else from my mother. Esther Donovan never sugarcoated anything. For years, it has just been her and my dad playing Gin Rummy, but Paul had recently joined the game, so they will switch to classic Rummy, no home rules. Mom explained the rules to me in just 5 minutes. You have to match sets of 3 or more cards, either 3 of a kind or straight of the same suit. Like this, she spread out the 4, a 5, and a 6 of spades on the table. This is called a melt. The first player who melts all of his cards goes out and wins all the round, and then the other players have to add up the points of the cards they have in their hand without a melt. Mom picked up all the cards and began shuffling them. Easy, isn't it? It seems simple even for my young age. We gathered around the table. I had Paul on my left and my mother on my right. She began to deal the cards with confidence and a smile on her face. My father picked them up with a certain laziness. I don't think Dad was enthusiastic about Rummy, because he knew that playing my mother meant losing. Oops. Paul and I, however, were very focused. There were a lot of variables to take into account, and we were inexperienced. We played a couple of hands, and one after another my mother went out. Sometimes she even got rid of all of her cash. "I'm going Rummy," she said. That meant double points for the rest of us. She was giving us the beating of our lives. Mom knew the 3 of us like the back of her hand, and her game proved it. "Well, you have to pay attention to the card, boys. Are you paying attention?" "I don't think so," she said teasingly. Paul was fuming. My father rolled his eyes, fed up with so much defeat. "Esther, darling, you are such a sore winner," he said as I picked up the next card. "Well, I'm sorry," my mother smirked as she put down the last three of cards she had left in her hand, "because I think Esther Donovan has won again." What I'll get nerve, okay? Let's do this. I look at my hand, it was full of high cards, queen, jacks, kings, and tens of every suit. I knew the right strategy was to discard high cards as soon as I could. If another player laid out all their melts while I had those cards in my hand, I was going to score 1,000,000 points. But I was sick of seeing my mom win. I was going to risk it. Maybe I couldn't beat her by skill or strategy, but maybe I could beat her by playing it risky. I decided not to lay any of my melts and go all in, let them think my hand was shit. I was trying to go rummy. My mother watched my card. She must have thought I still didn't get all the rules, and that's why I was taking so many high cards. But the truth was that I had it all practically melded, and I was using every card Paul laid off. After a few turns, I realized that I only needed a high card from this card pile to open, and that's exactly what this card pile was full of. The Queen of Diamonds I got was good enough. I began laying off my melts with a smile on my face. "Oh, fuck me, you're not going rummy, are you?" Dad blurted out. "You'll be a collateral victim, just like Paul." "That mouth, Frank," my mother scolded, and indeed I went rummy. Paul and Dad had a somber look on their face, but Mom didn't. She looked at me with a strange mixture of amusement and pride. "Well, you got me good, son." She counted her cards. "I'll take 47. My father took another 40 and grumbled as he wrote it down in a notebook. Paul had been a little lucky and only scored 17. I couldn't believe it. Now it was Mom's turn to deal. As she shoveled, she kept smiling proudly at me and repeated, "You really got me good." Well played," she began dealing. I understood what it meant to my mother. Sometimes she pulled the rug from under, but never to upset us. It was her way of teaching us how to adapt, to improvise, to move ahead. And that was what I had done by going rummy. The problem is I'm getting like impulsive. Like I think like the best one will be called a little bit like cold-blooded, but this one is cool too. Sloth, I don't know what it means. Sloth. Never heard that word. Chrissy. I have memories of many firsts, but not the first time I saw Chrissy. For me, Christine Meehan was always there, like my parents or Paul, a childhood friend who lived a few streets over, the daughter of one of my mother's best friends, and Officer Gordon Meehan. The Meehans were Irish and Catholic, like us, and we went to the same church. Chrissy and I endured Father Matthew's sermons, but patiently, waiting for Mass to be over so we could get out and play. Meehan was a cop back in the time when it meant being loved and respected by the whole neighborhood. One Saturday before lunch, Chrissy came to my block. "Lol, you coming out to play?" She always called me from the street. I thought she did like boy stuff, like hide and seek and other things. Playing with Chrissy didn't strictly mean playing. Sometimes we just talked, and at that time I was grateful to have someone to talk to. We went for a stroll around the block, a stop by Bob's store, and maybe pop over to Ciaran Skin's bar for a milkshake, back when Kian served milkshakes. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" she asked abruptly. I replied that I wanted to be anything but a longshoreman. Although some years had passed, the dock episode was still in my head. "I'm going to be a police officer like my dad," she said proudly, but I didn't picture her as a cop, and I told her, "They are evil? It doesn't suit you, you can't." Damn, it's like I don't want to say this, but I don't know. Ah, I don't like policemen. They are no good, I say in a small voice. I knew I was insult Chrissy's family, her father no less, the person she loved, admired, and respected most. Chrissy fell into a rage when she heard that. She yelled at me. She said I was telling lies about police officer, and either I will take it back immediately or she will never want to be my friend or see me again. And then I couldn't take it anymore. I told her what happened at the port. I tried to detail as best as I could those images that will never leave my mind. Longshoremen running around with bloody face, the sounds of batons breaking bones, my mother and brother locked up next to me in the shit house, scared to death, my father arrested. I asked How was that possible? Why the police sometimes did bad things, and why they hurt good people? It shouldn't be like that. And I burst into tears. Chrissy was very smart, but she didn't have answers for everything. She came over to me and hugged me quietly as I cried. Okay. Liberty. So, order is plus. Okay. Playing chopsticks. The weekends went by quickly until Sunday mornings. The biggest culprit was Father Matthew's sermons in church. Paul and I ate at Mass, but we didn't dare to complain in front of Mom. She was devout. When I was little, Mass was daily. Now we barely comply with our obligations to the Lord. The way she put it, going to church sounded like some sort of a heavenly tax to be paid. Yet my mother had a sweet and gentle view of religion. She spoke to us of a God who was infinitely good, who cared about us, who loved and protected us. Mom's God meant love. Father Matthew's God had nothing to do with that. My brother always said that Father Matthew reminded him of the evil giant in Jack and the Beanstalk. He was a huge fellow, almost 6 feet tall. The echo of this throaty voice resonated in the church as he delivered his tightly focused sermons on angels with flaming swords, painful sacrifice, divine punishment. His personal favorite was fire and brimstone falling on Sodom. Not even God couldn't find 10 righteous people in that city, he yelled. The guy was enamored with the Old Testament. Both Paul and me hated Mass, but for different reasons. Paul was just bored. But I was terrified of Father Matthew's God. Underneath his weekly sermons about evil, righteousness, and justice, there was an idea that probably defined his personality. Father Matthew believed that we all were God's soldiers and life was not never-ending battle of good against evil. One Sunday, Paul told me he had learned a game for two in school. A game played with your fingers only, chopsticks it was called. It was quite fun, and perfect for Mass. We followed the routine along with the rest of the churchgoers. We stood up, sat down, knelt, recited, and gave each other a sign of peace. But I was always looking at how many fingers were extended on Paul's hand. We were so focused on the game that neither of us noticed Father Matthew's shooting glance. It was more than enough for him. Mass went by in the blink of an eye. My brother won 3 of 2. I admit defeat, but I also point out that you'll have more pride than me. Our parents stopped to talk with a group of neighbors at the church gate. Another Sunday morning ritual. One of them, an old lady, pinched my cheek and said, "Look at you, lol, how much you've grown. Do you know who I am?" I shrugged. Of course I didn't know who the old hag was. As we waited for our parents to finish talking with the unnamed old lady and her group, we saw Father Matthew approaching us. "Hello, Frank. Esther, how's everything?" Father Matthew put his hand on my shoulder and paused while speaking. "May I talk with the boys in private? It will only be a second." A priest in the 96 represented the highest authority for a Catholic family. Many parents left their children in the care of the priest without a moment's hesitation. There's no need to say how much trauma and suffering this blind trust caused. Fortunately for Paul and me, Father Matthew was not that kind of priest. But unfortunately for Paul and me, Father Matthew wasn't like Spencer Tracy's Father Flanagan in Boys Town either. It took us to the vestry next to the church. Paul and I followed him, terrified and silent, dealing with the unpleasant feeling on our guts. That mixture of shame for misbehaving and the fear of retaliation. Most of all, the fear of retaliation. As we entered, he led us to a small classroom. We knew it placed from our CCD class. Paul and I followed, and since he did not signal us to sit down, we just stood Father Matthew close to the door after us and stood in front of the wooden teacher's table. "Do you know why you are here, boys?" he asked, his deep stern voice echoing the silence on the vestry. "Did you really think I would notice that I will let you play games in God's house? The church deserves of all your respect and all of your attention, even more than your own home, and Mass is one of the..." Father Matthew stopped abruptly. Paul told me later that he hadn't said a word, made a gesture, or anything at that moment. He just thought, "Oh, another boring sermon." But somehow Father Matthew knew what Paul was thinking. He pulled Paul's hair with his left hand violently. He almost dragged him across the floor. "Am I boring you? You are the eldest, Paul. You have to set an example. Where's your judgment, boy?" He hollered like a madman. He raised his huge right fist above Paul's face. I can't do this once. The first time I thought I was going to die was long before I began what I'm doing now in the streets, long before Vietnam even. The first time I thought I was going to die was when I saw Father Matthew's face, when I kicked him. It wasn't my best idea. He let go of Polly, yes, but then he focused on me. He slapped me with all his might. It was like a fucking truck hit me. He knocked me to the ground. I fell and pulled a couple of chairs down with me. My face was pounding violently, and I could only hear ringing in my right ear. I thought he had left me deaf. Do you understand why I hate you? His face had changed. He no longer had that murderous look, only sternness like a judge. I didn't say anything. I wasn't going to answer or cry. I wasn't going to give the son of a bitch satisfaction. Get up. I obeyed, and he slapped me again, a little less hard than the first time. This time I was expecting, and did my best not to fall down. He staggered me. I took 2 steps back. Now tears were welling up in my eyes, and I tried to hold back the sobs, but it was impossible. Paul looked on, still with his right hand in his hair. What about now? Do you understand why I hit you? I remained silent. I could not hold back the tears, but I could hold back the words. Paul tried to intercede for me. Please, father. We have learned our lesson. We won't fool around during the mass again. Please, he pleaded. There are rules and order. Order must be respected, Paul, he said without looking up from my eyes. But that's not why I'm punishing your brother. It came within an inch of my face. A 6-foot giant hunched over a child not 5 feet off the ground. He extended his index finger and pointed me directly at my chest. Good and evil live within us. Sin and virtue. God and the devil. You have the beast within, boy, and you have to learn to control it. He put his hand in his cassock pocket as he spoke. I closed my eyes to ready myself for the next slap that was to come, but he didn't hit me. Father Matthew took my right hand and opened it with care. On it, he gently left a small crucifix. And for that, you have God on your side. Don't you ever forget that, Lol. We left the vestry, Paul with a somber look, me teary eye and a face as red as a beet. He had beaten the shit out of me. My parents looked at us, but they didn't even ask a single question. I could read it in their face. You had it coming. I don't blame them. That's how things were back in those days. On the way back home, I still thought about what happened. What was all that about the beast? What a fucking loony. The pain was gone a few hours later, but what Father Matthew told me still resonated in my head. I couldn't get it out of my mind. Years later, I realized how right the priest he was, about having the beast inside, and about controlling it. Fucking Father Matthew. The mother, no! The relationship with the mother. The brother. Turning point. Up to this moment, I lived nothing but an ordinary childhood. Humble, definitely. A little rough in some moments, maybe. But certainly most happily. In a few years, I will go to high school, meet a girl, have a job, get married, and have two and a half kids? What? And a house with a white picket fence and all that. Of course, that never happened, or didn't that happen the way I was expecting at least. That my life went wrong had a lot to do with the most special person in my family, the one to whom I felt most attached, the most important person that my life. We can put mom to try to decrease. My mother was a fascinating woman. We didn't know how she did, but she worked, managed the household, finance, but still always had time to be with us. She was the voice of order and authority at home. Mom was able to set us straight without words, while never failing to be the most loving and tender person in the world. To me, Esther Donovan was more than a mother. She was a guide. That's why. His mother, her murder should be her. Murder tore me apart. The first time I heard about the collector was on the news, one Friday night. The only night that my mother allowed TV during dinner was Friday night because Twilight Zone was on. None of us wanted to miss it. My dad turned the TV on, it was CBS Evening News, and they showed Lover's Lane, an area near the drive-in movie theater in Greenville, north of town. Couples used to drive there to make out. I guess some will get laid there too, but they wasn't too common back then. 2 teenagers had been killed last night. Somebody had tied them up and shot them twice each. That was terrible, but what terrified me most wasn't the kill itself. The kill had written something with a permanent marker on the hood car of the boy's car. In that moment I realized what a serial killer was. He wasn't the bad guy from an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents. He had no motive, he just killed for fun, and he did it over and over again. He always took something from the people he killed. That's why months later, the press nicknamed him the Collector. That's for now, good hunting season, I'm on a roll. The Greenville girl had messy hair, so the kill probably took a hairband, and the boy had recently graduated, but there was no sign of his high school ring anywhere. The 4 of us were silent, but I couldn't hold it anymore. I say it just like that. Although my mother strictly forbid us to swear, those two teenagers and their broken families were all I could think about. Law, do not sway in this house. My mother said angrily, have you forgotten the fifth commandment? I remained silent. No dessert for you tonight, young man, she added. That was another ruse by Esther Donovan. She used my love for her homemade cherry pie to divert the conversation, and I took the bait. After a few complaints and a bit of pouting, she finally gave in and allowed me to have a piece of it. Then Daddy yelled, it's starting, and we sat around TV as Twilight Zone opening began. I wasn't thinking about the psycho murdering teenage near where Mom worked anymore. No one thinks that a tragedy like that will strike his own family. We all try to stay positive by reminding ourselves that we'll never be struck by lightning the same way, that we'll never win the lottery. Those things always happen to other people. But the collect didn't make any distinctions between people. He didn't care if his victim was a prostitute, a truck driver, or a student. All ages, all genders, and all complexions were valid targets. A month after that newscast, my mother had to work a late shift at Agnellos. The next morning, her body was found in a vacant lot near the restaurant. Manacled, 2 shots to the head, writing a permanent marker on her dress, 5-0. The collector's fifth victim, and her wedding ring with the name Frank and Esther, May 14, 1947, engraved inside, was missing. When police told us, that collapsed like I had never seen before. Paul, on the other hand, was in shock. He couldn't believe it, but I could. I knew that was going to happen. I tried to save my mother, but I couldn't. That was almost 25 years ago. 25 years since laughter, joy, or happiness upon the Donovan household. The collector took credit for far more murders after my mother, but he thought there might have been more victims. He was never caught. 25 years is a long time, but not that long. Maybe that son of a bitch still out there, alive. And if he is, I plan to find him and get my mom's wedding ring back. The eulogy. My mother had been buried with the coffin closed. What that animal had done to her could not be seen. Next to the coffin, they placed a picture of my mother from a few years ago. She looked beautiful, full of joy and life. The whole neighborhood was at the funeral home. Timmy Hanch, Miss Molinaro, Mr. Agnello, Dad's co-workers at the dock. There wasn't room for a single soul. Even Sal Marquisio was there with his family. The honest export-import businessman paid his respects to my father and sat down with his family, a fat woman with black combat hair named Gabriela Marquisio, and 2 children, a fat kid who resembled Sal, named John, and a girl with panda eyes whose name was Andrea. Shortly after the Marquis entered the funeral home, Dad approached Paul and me. Listen, they want me to say something, but I don't know what to say. I never been very good with words, you know that. What I'm supposed to say. Since Mom died, Dad had been more lost than usual. He'll be neglecting his appearance and drinking more than usual. It was all getting to be too much for him, and that's why he was asking 2 small kids for advice. Paul shook his head, not quite understanding what was expected of him. Dad then turned his attention to me. What else is that? Stability? My father looked at me and I could see all my rage pass on his eyes. He went up to stand and clear his throat before he began to speak. This isn't a death like any other. Somebody killed Esther, my wife Esther, your friend Esther. And I'm telling you, the killer is still out there in the streets and he doesn't care about who his victim is. It could be your husband, your wife, or even worse, your kids. I really need your help with this. I need your help to find him. Let's work together, please. The funeral home was in the most absolute silence. We knew that no one was expected to work at the funeral, but this wasn't your average funeral. A son of a bitch had killed my mother for fun, and I couldn't care less if people were shocked by your reaction. Dad sat between Paul and me as the murmurs got louder and louder, and eventually there was a resounding round of applause. The neighbors knew that the Donovans weren't going to sit back and do nothing while this fucker was on the loose. I felt really proud of my father at that moment, but unfortunately Dad kept going downhill after that. When he finished speaking, Salvador Marquis approached my father and hugged him. We have had our difference, Frank, but if this happened to Gabriela, I don't know what I will do. Just tell me how I can help. I was surprised that a mafioso like Marquisio had red lines. He may have been a criminal and probably had more than one mistress, but this guy, in his own way, loved his wife deeply. The burial followed that day, as awkward as unsaid as any other. We followed the hearse to the cemetery in bright sunshine, not a cloud on the horizon. Father Matthew said a few words, and as soon as he finished, they lowered the casket. Paul, Dad, and I each threw a handful of dirt on top of the mother's coffin. Then the burial attendants began shoveling it. A few days later, an anonymous note appeared in several of the state newspapers. It was followed by an encrypted code. The Greenville Waiters was the thief. It's open season, and I won't stop killing until you catch me. I am Am I now public enemy? Bad pun. Number one, do I have a nickname yet? I want a cool one, like Jack the Ripper or something similar. If you can't think of any nickname, you can always try to find out my real name in the following coded message. Greetings from hell. I grant you'll meet you there, buddy. I thought when I read it, and you'll regret mentioning my mother. And boy, did we meet. But that's another story. That's another story. Empty rooms. Days go by slowly when something like this happens in a family, and after the storm passes, you are left with the hardest part, living with routine, and in most cases you have to do it without anyone's help. It hurts and nobody knows how to deal with it, and nobody wants to talk about it. Friends and acquaintances avoid tragedy like the plague, and I don't blame them. People don't know how to respond to loss, especially when it's a traumatic loss. My grandfather Carl died of old age at the age of 91. There are a dozen set phrases for when something like that happens. You live a good life, everyone's time comes, that kind of shit. But there are no set phrase for when something like this happens to your mom. You simply try to get used to the silent movie your life has become, a reality plagued by uncomfortable silence, by topics that are never talked about, by routines in which that person exists, and with empty rooms. The living room was no longer the family's meeting. The dim midday light gave a ghostly look to everything. I approached the sofa where my mother used to watch TV while she embroidered. And then I smelled her perfume. It felt as if mom was still there, all around the living room, saying grace before she let us eat what she prepared, at the table beating us all to rummy, on the couch bursting with laughter with Johnny Carson. My mother's laughter was contagious. When she laughed, it filled that tiny apartment on the fourth floor with life. And then the memory faded. I listened to the sounds and was fully aware of everything. There would be no more laughter, no more nights watching Johnny Carson, no more hummy games, no more cherry pie. It was all over, gone in the blink of an eye with two shots to the head of a fucking weirdo. I fell to my knees and burst into tears. I took a breath for a few seconds. I wiped away my tears and I looked at my reflection in the mirror. This was my life now, and I asked myself a question. What now, lol? What's left now? Justice, revenge. Some of my colleagues say that my reaction had been stoic, unusual for a kid my age, but I knew that this was a sign that the system was flawed, that there were bad people out there. This shouldn't have happened. Justice was important, but sometimes law and justice don't go hand in hand. The rules and regulations are what they are, and that's why I need to act outside the law, but just because it allows me to be faster. The journalist who wrote the article with the CC mentions that I have a particular distorted view of justice, and he does not hesitate to take justice into his own hands. I wish I could answer the author that yes, my friend, that of course I have a distorted view of justice, that maybe you will have it too if you are living through what I have. The years went by, eventually I got used to the new life, and at least there were no incidents thereafter. I must say that those were calm years, at least compared to my childhood. Everyone saw Lol Donovan as a good kid, a straight A student, not a guy neither particularly popular nor outgoing, just another face in high school. Even what happened in my family became secondary to others, not to me of course. From elementary to high school, John Nance Garner, the good thing was that it was next to Grove Hill Park. The bad thing was that I had to take a bus to get there. In high school, I had met new people, some good people like Daniel Arellano, son of Puerto Rican immigrants. He was lanky, not good at sports, and a mediocre student, but he was smart, fast guy with a great sense of humor. Dan and I got along well from the beginning. Being working class and Catholic, it was only natural that we became friends. We would spend the afternoon playing games, arguing about all sorts of things. Who was the best comedian of the time, for example, or which band played the best music. Really, do you really prefer the Birds to the Beach Boys? You'll say. But for every Dan, there were five guys like Chet Meyer in high school. Chet looked like a life-size replica of Barbie's Ken, just as dumb as he was popular. And of course, to maintain his touch, he was forced to pick on people. He had it for Dan. He and his friend, three assholes friends on the football team, I didn't even remember their names. Bully 1, Bully 2, and Bully 3. He saw us walking down the hall and couldn't help but make the comment, "Look, it's fucking Speedy Gonzalez." I looked at Dan, I knew him, and I knew he was preparing an answer that was most likely going to contain reference to rednecks inbreeding and marrying his cousin. Dan was very quick to turn insults, but not so quick to hit back, so I knew I had to intervene. Is there a problem, chat? This isn't about you, Donovan. It's with your Mexican friend. So get out of the way if you don't want to get one too. I guess I guess it didn't make any sense to explain that Dan's family wasn't Mexican but Puerto Rican, or that Dan was born in Queens and was in America as we were, so I opted for another strategy. I had read too many superhero comics and sent too many detective movies. I thought the sucker punch could knock a person down. It happened in movies. I learned at that moment that size, weight, and strength do a lot in fight. Chad played football and was in wrestling. My sucker punch is were nothing to him, except piss him off. Chad could not consent to exhibit the slightest sign of weakness, so he threw a straight punch at my nose, and I felt it was melting. Over time, I've learned that feeling means your nose has been broken. I wasn't wrong. I fell to the ground groaning. I looked down at my hands and they were soaked with blood. I noticed how a huge guy fell on me and started hitting me all over, my ribs, my face. I tried to cover myself as best as I could while Chet was beating me. The other three assholes didn't have to do anything. Chet was enough to give me the worst beating I've ever had. I heard the screams in the hallway, a crowd gathered shouting, "Fight, fight!" To call it a fight was pretty generous to be honest. "Have you learned your lesson, Donny boy?" He yelled while pulling my hair with his left hand and threatening me with his right. "Can you hear me? Have you learned that lesson?" The warden came in. I was covered in blood and I know she had got a couple of days in detention for that thing he did. Dan came to see me late in the infirmary. "Thanks, man, I owe you one." I shrugged. I thought it wouldn't have hurt if he'll give me a hand. So what I got? Wang. Jesus. Like, you want physical, but Jesus Christ. So this goes to Chew. Movie date. The day before I started my sophomore year of high school, Chrissy Meehan stopped by my house to pick me up. She brought a tray of roast beef she had cooked herself, regards to my family from her parents, and some of the joy she always carries inside her. I had arranged to meet her to see High Noon. She had been urging me to see it several days. She said it was a wonderful movie and that I was going to love it. "Let's go for a walk, and then I'll take you to the movies. But popcorn and drinks are on you, deal?" We left home. The weather was spectacular. One of those sunny spring days with just the right temperature. Some respite between the criminal cold of winter and the sweltering, humid heat of summer. "Well, how's everything?" I shrugged my shoulders. I've been having a season I wasn't at my best. I wasn't spending as much time thinking about what happened in my family anymore, but I wasn't clear on what to focus on either. I told her I was going back and forth. We entered McKinley Park. The trees were in bloom, a guy walking the dog, a mom and dad with a stroll, a guy playing guitar. It was a beautiful day, really. It almost seemed like one of those bucolic springtime descriptions worthy of Walt Whitman. We continued walking through the park. We saw a couple. I'm not sure what they were. Beatniks, hippies? I don't know if they were hippies back then. The fact is that they were having a good time. Some people passed by and looked at them with a look of disdain, and others looked away. At that time, making out in public was not the most normal thing in the world. I guess that a normal situation for the time prompted Chrissy to ask me the question. "And are you dating anyone?" I knew Chrissy was dating a boy from the neighborhood who lived at Fifth and Wales. I heard Chrissy's mother say so a while back. A Nick or Nicholas, maybe Irish, and with that name 99% chance of being also Catholic. Miss Miam seemed pleased. I don't know about Officer Miam will think. As far as I was concerned, what the hell we have here? What else is that? I always forget. Stability. Yeah, we're going to be insane. Alright, we can do this. I was about to say that, but I didn't say it. I didn't dare. I said a childish macho crap like, "Nah, girls are a bummer," or something like that. But Chrissy was not a bummer. She was one of the few things that made my life worth living. "I know isn't a bummer to you, huh?" she said as she nudged me. "You are the shit, lol. Let's see how many girls do you know, huh? I think you are a misanthropist. Do you know what that means?" I shrugged my shoulders. "It means you wait everyone. You should meet more girls, then at least you could rate us in a wide range as the guys. I'll be fatter." I smiled. I hadn't done that for days, but Chrissy was capable of that. She smiled too, with that trademark pot wrinkling her nose. When you start noticing those little details, it's because you are spending too much time with someone, and probably because you are falling in love. During each and every moment of that walk, I thought about how wonderful life could be. I hadn't thought that for days, but Chrissy caused that effect on me. We kept talking about trifles until we got to the movie theater. We arrived at the entrance of the Regal. It was one of the largest movie theaters in the city, one of the few multiplex cinemas. 3 screens to be exact. As we wait in line, Chrissy said to me, "You're gonna love it, lol. If I know you little, you are gonna love it." I like the movie plot. Gary Cooper was sheriff alone in the face of danger, with no help, and yet he was able to take on bad guys. He only had his wife, Grace Kelly, by his side, someone to bear the weight of justice. We entered the movie theater. And then I look at Gracie. The light from the screen lighted her face. She was a beautiful girl, a sort of 15-year-old Maureen O'Hara. Her light green eyes flashing reflections from the screen, and a reddish blonde hair that burned brightly that she wore pulled back on her scarf. I had never seen anything so beautiful in my life. I knew she was dating this Nick guy, but I didn't care. I felt the irrepressible urge to kiss her. Popcorn, tragedy. Of course you do this. Oh, you need nervous? What the hell is that? Wait, what? Oh, where is it? No, it's the... It's this, you need the impulsiveness. Oh, okay. But when I came close to her face, it was her who kissed me. In the darkness of the movie theater, I noticed how my kiss on the lips, innocent and candid, turned into something wet and passionate when she opened her mouth, and I felt her tongue press against mine. I was intoxicated with her perfume and felt the touch of her hair in my hand. She ran her hand through my hair. Suddenly she stopped in her tracks and pulled her lips away from mine. No, no, wait, this isn't right. I'm seeing someone. I should have told you, she whispered. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. Let's just forget about it, okay? Chrissy looked really worried. I nodded in the dark. I took a deep breath, but I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. The mixture of excitement, thrill, and yet disappointment. It had been so weird. I could barely pay attention to the movie from the awkwardness of the situation. We returned home in silence. It was the most uncomfortable walk. We took the subway to downtown station and barely looked at each other's face. When we got to the gate, Chrissy said to me, "This thing that happened today, it was a mistake. It wasn't supposed to happen, and it can't be." I interrupted her. So what do we have here? That is secrecy. You're right. Like, why not say this? You get more plus 2. Chrissy looked at me with wide eyes. I think I had verbalized something that for many years had been an open secret between us, and that revelation had thrown her off guard. What? I love you. I've always loved you since I was a kid, and honestly, I think I'm going to love you for the rest of my life. I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm just telling you what's out there. I know it may sound awkward, and I know you are dating someone, but that doesn't change the facts. Not even if we can't be together. I love you. That's all. In her face, I saw a mixture of sorrow, affection, and certain remorse. I guess she was confused as I was and was expecting a different kind of goodbye, but it didn't come out. "You are the worst, you know that?" Chrissy breathed. Chrissy smiled at me with glazy eyes and stroked my face. She sighed and continued, "I guess I love you too." She kissed me on the cheek and went upstairs to her house. Wait, you don't... Oh yeah, you didn't get nothing. It's only with her. Meow. The Saboteur. Until my mother passed away, Frank Donovan was the person I had seen drink the most alcohol in my life. I'm not talking about an alcoholic, or at least not in the classic sense. My father was a regular drinker. I once saw him drink a beer in one gulp, according to him, to quench his thirst, and immediately order another one to enjoy it. As long as my mother was alive, alcohol never affected his way of being, and my mother tolerated it. I knew it was his outlet, but with my mom gone, there was no balance or measure anymore. My brother, on the other hand, started hanging out with new people, a small group of bike aficionados who rode around the city as if they thought they were Marlon Brando in The Wild One. I went with them a couple of times, but I never felt at ease. One of those nights, I decided to say goodbye early and return home by taking a walk along the pier to the port, and from there to home. Even back then, I liked to walk at night, to contemplate the city sleeping under the stars, having the empty streets just for me, and above all, to enjoy the silence. No screams, no horns. The fucking silence in a neighborhood like mine was something rare to see. It's all really, strolling at night. It must have been almost midnight when I arrived at the harbor. I turned my gaze toward the dock, and I was surprised to see lights on the shit house. And then I saw a figure inside backlit. Someone was stealing, just what we needed. I entered the dock and approached shit house. The door was ajar. I decided to take the risk and see what was happening. That could have ended very badly. The figure turned suddenly and pointed a snub-nosed revolver at me, and then I saw his face in the light. My father. Fuck, lol. You scared the hell out of me, he said as he lowered the gun. He pulled me by my shirt inside and closed the door. He reeked of alcohol and was a fucking nervous wreck. What the fuck are you doing here? I told him I was returning home and I'd seen lights, and when I went to ask him back, all I had to do was look at the gas cans on the floor. He had sprayed the whole shitter, soaking everything in gasoline, and I had more for the rest of the pass. I have to do this, son. It's because, look, the Mercutio. I didn't need to say anything else. The Marquis had my father by the balls for a long time. My father owed them favors, a lot of favors, and for more important things than having paid his bail in the 56 riot. And for the mafia, favors were paid back with interest. Listen to me, we'll go fast if you help me out. Physical. Okay. Give me, I said as I reached for the gas can. If anyone sees you here, you're going to get in trouble. And I don't want you to set yourself on fire as drunk as you are, I thought. But I didn't say it, of course. Dad looked at me in the eye, sad but excited. Tears were coming to his eyes. Thank you, son. Thank you. I didn't even answer him. My father came out of the shithouse quietly, and almost fell over as he walked down the 3 steps to the ground. Frank Donovan, the tough as nails, indomitable Union man, was now a weeping alcohol-soaked turd, and what was worse, he was a lackey of the mobsters. What he was doing made me ashamed and even disgusted, but I was already motherless, and I didn't want to be fatherless too. I got to work. I went up and down the dock, drenching every piece of machinery that I thought might burn with gasoline. All the cars there as well. I left some lit piece of paper inside and exited the place running. After a while there was a series of tremendous explosions, followed by a fire, and for the second time in 10 years, a column of black smoke emerged from docks. But unlike a few years ago, this had nothing to do with workers' rights. I'm more with that. High school hero. A couple more years passed in the blink of an eye. I had reached my senior year. Sometimes genetics can be capricious. Chet Meyer was the tallest guy in the class a few years ago, but in the last few years I had grown spurt. I took advantage of my physique to do wrestling for a year. I wasn't bad at it. The best thing was seeing how the bullies stop wanting to touch your balls when you could stand up to them, and I also extend the protection to them. In the end, however, I quit wrestling and joined the football team. I wasn't particularly interested in the sport, neither was I a great thrower, nor did I have a vision, but I was reasonably fast, and I knew that if I excelled in football, I might have a chance to qualify for a scholarship to college. I played starting wide receiver for the Garnet Tigers. The name had always seemed like a crap to me. Like our high school football team, names were somewhere between Eagle, Tiger, and Wildcat. Chet Meyer was still the quarterback and star of the team. He and I had virtually no relationship beyond sports. We both avoided giving Coach Stockton any trouble. Even though he knew that Chet and I hated each other, he managed to make sure that when we were on the field, we had a report. And we usually did. The first few games of the season had been tough, and although we had struggled, we had made it all the way to the playoff semifinals, which for the short history of the non-Scarlet Tigers was quite an accomplishment. The tension was palpable as we took the field to play for a spot in the finals, the penultimate game of the season, against St. Louis High School and their Hurricanes. Crazy High School. You have to see a live play tricks on you sometimes. I saw her enter the stadium dressed in cheerleader uniform. I don't know what the position is called. She wasn't the boss, nor one doing cartwheels. We didn't pay much attention to each other. I think we had our minds on something else, and we were in different teams. The referee blew the whistle and the match began. It started badly. During the first quarter we didn't even have a single minute of possession. We were defending the whole time. The Hurricanes quarterback, a guy named Casey, wearing number 17, looked unstoppable. When we finally got possession, they had advanced so far, we were so close to our own end zone that we were forced to give it way back by kicking the ball to the other end of the field. We got an extra point touchdown, courtesy of number 17. Fucking Casey again. Coach Stockton almost lost his voice during the first break, from shitting on us from play so tepidly. We had to react. And boy did we. We gave up touchdown to the Tigers a few minutes in the second quarter. 4 straight perfect drives without losing a single down. With a couple of long receptions of my own, Tigers 6, Hurricane 7. We could smell a comeback. But all teams' morale plummeted when we were robbed on the conversion attempt and the Hurricanes advanced out of the field. I think that was the only play of the game that Casey wasn't involved in. The game continued with the Hurricanes ahead. They managed to score again but missed the extra point. During the next few plays we lost possession, we defended well, but they advanced enough to get one last down near the upright. They managed to get the free punch in the with a nice kick. Again, the fucking number 17. He was kicking too. The cheers for Casey lit up the stadium. It seemed like the home team was the home team. However, before the end of the third quarter, we managed to score a spectacular touchdown, single play by Chet. We also missed the conversion though. At least this time they didn't steal the ball from us. Tigers 12, Hurricanes 16. The last quarter was a war of attrition. Exhaustion took its toll on both teams and we both made a lot of mistakes, but little by little we managed to advance until we were very close to the Hurricanes end zone. There were only a few minutes left in the game. The possession was ours. We were 12-16 on the last down, just 3 yards away from a touchdown. The referee looked at the clock and said there were 10 seconds left. This was where the whole game was going to be decided. If we scored, we would win and Tigers will advance to the final. If we missed it, the Hurricanes went through. Chet raised his arm and called the play with his hand. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. 3 yards for a touchdown, you mark a long pass run play? Terrible. Accuracy? Is that accuracy? I think I'm gonna say accuracy. I don't have it, so. Above all, I was a team player. If Chet wanted to take a chance, I had to trust him, even if he was an absolute hassle. I started sprinting past the defensive line. My defender wasn't expecting a deep placement. He stayed forward and I managed to get rid of him. I threw my head back. I watched as Chet threw the ball a few moments before he was knocked down. The pass was intended for me. Although it was a little wide, the ball went over the Hurricanes defenders who were looking up to see the parabola that would decide the game. I had to catch the ball before it hit the ground. I ran as fast as I could. I almost on top of it. I jumped at the last moment and felt the leather of the ball set in my hands. I fell to the ground with the ball firmly in my grasp. There was a second of silence. After it, the field erupted in a roar of cheers. The referee's whistle signaling the end of the game was not even heard. I looked at Chet. He was screaming with his arms in the chair, in the air, in celebration as the stadium chanted his name. Half of the team fell on him, and then the other half of the team fell on me. When I managed to get out of the mountain of bodies on top of me, I looked around. I saw my family in our bleachers applauding. It had been a long time since I had seen them so close to being happy. I knew that in a few days everything would be back to normal, but I decided to seize the moment and greet them. Once the euphoria of the celebration was over, I went straight to the locker room. On the way to the shower, I passed Chet, who was finished dressing. I was surprised by something. This Casey guy came up. He had done all the damage to win the game on his own, and I almost done it. The guy looked fucked up, but he still said, "The last play was spectacular, man." He said as he shook my hand. "Good luck in the final." We're gonna do this. That pass wasn't bad, for a punk like you, I mean. I said as I patted him on the shoulder. Chet smiled, and that was pretty decent reception for a dork like you, he replied. Well played, Donovan. We still look at each other, smiling. Chet closed to the locker and left. That was the first conversation I had with Chet Meyer. That didn't end in blows. It will not be the last, but that's another story. Like that I get here, so in case we shoot. Because you have a gun, so we need accuracy. Halloween costume party. A Halloween party. A friend of my friend of a friend of the party planner invited Chrissy, and she invited me. I knew there were going to be more people. I was thinking for a long time about dressing up. When I was a kid, I used to choose something superheroes, cowboys. I always wanted to go as the Lone Ranger. It used to freak me out when I was a kid. I remember the whole family gathered in front of the TV watching Clayton Moore in a mask next to another guy whose name I can't remember. I knew certainly was a Native American playing Tonto. A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty "Hey yo, Silver," the Lone Ranger. I screamed at that at the top of my lungs while running with a broom between my legs, through the house and humming the William Tell overture. So I said to myself, what the hell, I'm going to go as a Lone Ranger. At the start, they made me a pretty decent costume, a domino mask, a fancy white hat, and all that shit, but at that time it was freezing cold and I had to take the subway, so I took my long coat. On the subway there were more people in costume, lots of kids getting ready to trick or treating, couples with matching costumes, usual Halloween stuff. I got to the apartment, a guy in a Frankenstein costume opened the door. At the party there was everything. They had prepared punch, conveniently spiked with booze. "Oh, you come," and she hugged me. Crazy had dressed up as Wilma Flintstone. Even with that updo that made her look older, she looked very pretty, very pretty. Next to her was a guy dressed as Fred Flintstone, so by golly, it had to be this Nick. Lord, this Nick Casey, Nick, this Lord Donovan. Casey, damn, I recognized him immediately. Yeah, it was that guy from the opponent team. He was the quarterback for the St. Louis Hurricanes, number 17. The guy was a big, strapping Irish lad, light brown hair, square jaw. I love like that Nicholas Cage had been like the usual jerk boyfriend that you could hate, an arrogant asshole who treated her like shit, so I could tell, Chris, it's not worth it, you better dump it. But the truth be said, he wasn't like that. Man, well, fine, nice to meet you. He stared at me for a second. He must have been good face reader to recognize me without the helmet. Wait, are you to the Tigers line? We chatted for a while and he surprised me for a better. In fact, I like him a lot. As he talked about his family, about his life, I noticed a certain familiarity. I would say he was a lot like me, but not broken inside. Deep down, Chrissy had done the right thing by staying with him. And it was almost what depressed me the most. I didn't have any sisters, but if Chrissy had been my sister, I would have told her to stay with Nick and not to hang out with guys like me. And that helplessness pissed me off. I never felt envy before, and the first one I ever felt was for Nick Casey. And the worst part was that it was justified. He was a working class kid, he was a good guy, and he deserved a girl like Chrissy. As soon as I could, I sat down near the punch. I put my hat away and began to drink more punch than usual. Alcohol is the best anesthetic for the soul, but I was not used to it. By the fourth glass of eggnog, suddenly my life, my shitty existence, the death in my family, it all seemed like a bad dream. I just thought, fuck it all, right? Look at these people, I thought, they are having a fucking good time, they are happy, what's wrong with me? And I kept drinking. At one point, Chris approached me. She looked concerned. She asked me if I was okay. I shrugged. I smelled like an asshole. I was drunk as fuck. I guess she took that as a yes. And I kept drinking. After a while, I could see everything blurry, and the world was spinning around me, until I threw up in the middle of the living room, on a rug and my dad looking real expensive. I heard the commotion. Who brought this asshole? The owner of the house was saying. I tried to apologize. I left the party, still wearing the stupid costume, my forehead covered in sweat. I felt like shit. I knew I had behaved like an asshole, and I was ashamed to go back. Plus, I didn't know where the fuck I left my hat. I was so drunk I left in that house. The night air cleared my head. I felt like a little better, besides of the taste of vomit in my mouth. I walked several blocks, covering myself as best as I could from miserable cold of the city. October, or was it already November? The thing is, it's not a good month to walk around the city, much less if you are dressed like an asshole. At least I had my long coat to cover me, but even with that I couldn't avoid shivering from time to time. I kept moving forward and thought about how this was my first time on this side of Southside. The cold was waking me up, but as I was sobering down the cold I got, I picked up the pace. I figured I only had 3 blocks to go before I got home. That I would just lie in bed and get through this absurd day in another day. Another way. A guy talking to me, hey buddy, pretty girls, as if that was I was there for. The lights looked like fancy clubs. Everyone said Southside was where the whorehouses were. Back in then, it wasn't like it is now. There weren't girls walking the streets, shivering from the cold, in fishnets, talking shiny leopard coat. Everything was more discreet, but still, it had that instinct. As I crossed one of the clubs, I heard in the alley to my right, muffled groan, followed by clatter against some garbage cans in an alley to my right. A guy was beating a girl to death. She couldn't have been much older than me. Calm down, Ricky, please. I can explain, please. The lights in the neighborhood brightened. Some voices were heard. What the fuck is going on in there? This is not time. I asked you a fucking question. Where's my fucking money? I want it now. The guy was still going about his business. It was a small thing, but he was beating the girl to death. The guy stopped dead in his tracks when he saw me. I stood still too, watching the scene. The girl stared at me, the guy too. He looked like Ricky Ricardo, Lucille's boss husband. I wonder if that's where his nickname came from. You got a problem, buddy? The guy said as he pulled out a knife. I gave him money. What? Can I offer you the money to compensate you? What the fuck? In other circumstances, I wouldn't have done anything, but it was late. I was tired from the show. I had given at the party, but I was still drunk enough not to think about the consequences, but not so drunk that I couldn't control myself. Fuck it. My tongue was getting tangled. I have a fucking problem with guys who hit women. Ricky, he focused his attention on me. Not only his attention, but also the knife. Meanwhile, the girl took the opportunity to run away, but first she said something. Don't hurt him. Do you hear me? Don't you dare to do anything to him. At first I thought she was saying it to Ricky, but then I understood that it was me she was warning. The poor thing had a crush on the piece of shit. Fuck, you are welcome, I thought. What the world we live in, son of a bitch. Not only are you going to give me all the cash you have on you, but I'm going to charge extra for trouble. Toy pistol? You needed to have a tout, huh? As soon as I took a step, Ricky threw several stabs at my face from almost 10 feet away, and I immediately realized that he had never used a knife before. He didn't know how to move with it, and he picked it up like a little kid picks up a crayon. In neighborhood, sometimes you will see a fight. I remember the sub-Czech kid who had gotten mixed up with the wrong guy and ended up in the hospital with Stitch. Another Puerto Rican kid, Fernando, was serving time for assault. Ricky talked a lot. He waved his razor around a lot. He insulted me and told me everything he was going to do me if I didn't give him the money. He was nervous. The guy wasn't expecting. I was a couple of heads taller than him and worked it out. He didn't, I guess, to deal with a bunch of girls who had been degraded, humiliated, stripped of any vestige of dignity, and were nullified. Didn't take a circus strongman. A combination of occasional affection and shitty belittling treatment was enough. I grabbed him and gave him time to wiggle his knife like an asshole a couple more times. I was able to twist his arm and make him drop the knife. I pinned him down while he screamed like a madman. "Let me go, you son of a bitch, let me go!" I applied pressure with all my strength and his arm snapped like a chicken wing. Ricky shrieked in a comical way. It sounded like the goofy holler. He fell face first onto the Halley pavement while I was still holding his arm. "I'm gonna come back here tomorrow, Ricky. If I see that you have done anything to that girl, I will break your other arm. Got it?" I shook my fist in front of his face. "Do you get it, asshole?" Even as drunk as I was, I noticed my voice was hoarse from all the tobacco and alcohol. Ricky nodded, tears streaming down his face. I let go of his arm, and he ran towards the end of the alley. And then I heard the applause and cheers. I looked up. Leaning out of the windows of the alley were several neighbors enjoying the show. I guess Ricky's bad temper was common in the area, and he was not well liked. I didn't quite know how to react to that, and besides I was still a little drunk, so I put my coat on and walked out of the alley. The wind hit me in the face. It was freezing cold. On the way home I inhaled a deep breath of rigid city air, and it felt good. I went home trying to not wake anyone. It was very late. I sneaked across to my room, and suddenly I saw myself reflect in the mirror. I had forgotten how strange I looked. I was wearing a mask, a long coat, and a gun. I didn't look like an asshole dressed as a cowboy. I look like one of those superheroes from Dad's comics, like the Spirit or the Shadow, or the Green Hornet from TV. The situation was hilarious, and I smiled in front of the bedroom mirror. I lay down on the bed, and with that smile, I fell asleep peacefully. The seat was a little less unfair today. Why not like Batman, something like that? Finals. There were only a few weeks left until the first semester final exams, and less than 4 days until the grand final against the Rangers of Corcoran 8th High School. Then say there was no point in studying for the finals. With our mediocre academic records, it didn't matter how good we did in the final exams. A barely passing grade was more than enough. Chrissy said the exact opposite. She had excellent grades. She said that it would be great for us to study together. That even thought she was from a different high school, the textbooks and content was the same. I trained with Chad. Fuck that, we go for Chrissy. I called Chris to give me a hand. I noticed that she was still a little angry about my behavior at the Halloween party, but she still agreed to help me with the test. She had a heart of gold. I heard her coming up the stairs of the block. She had a brisk, distinctive gait. Tap, tap, tap. She always ran up the stairs. I opened the door before she even pressed the doorbell, and we went straight to my room. She had come with a backpack full of books. "Well, tell me, what are you weaker at?" She looked at me and smiled. I shrugged my shoulders because I didn't have an answer. Really, I was lame in everything, so Chrissy started pulling all her books out of her backpack. And that's when I saw it on the table in my room. The local newspaper from a few days ago opened to the events chronicle. It mentioned a heroic act and a stranger in a mask who had stood up to a guy in a alley while defending a woman. But that wasn't all. One of the neighbors had taken a picture. It must have been from the first floor because I could be seen in quite a lot of detail. I had seen it a few days ago while looking through the newspaper for TV information, and I was speechless when I saw it. I was proud. I wanted to cut it out and put it in an album as a souvenir, but I had forgotten it on the table in my room, in full of Chrissy. I wasn't sure if it was a good idea for her to see it. Oh, you needed secrecy to be able. Alright. I had Minors? I have minors? Where is it? Oh shit. Oh, that's gonna decrease on Chrissy and stability. Damn. Hey, there's a newspaper here. I'm going to take it down to. She stared at the picture for a second. This what? I don't really know what went through my mind to do that. I thought she was going to fall into my arms when she saw me in the newspaper photo. It seems incredible that I was such a fool, that I knew her so little. Nothing of sort happened. On the contrary, Chrissy looked like a basilisk when she recognized me in the photo. What do you do for a living, lol? Are you crazy? Do you want to get yourself killed? She waved the newspaper in front of my face. I tried to deny it. I told her it wasn't me, that it had to be a coincidence, another guy. What happened? Did another guy with your height and build happen to dress up like as the Lone Ranger and go boxing with a pimp on the south side? She rambled on, ignoring my gestures to keep her voice down. And what the fuck were you doing on the south side? Couldn't you have taken a cab? I had no choice but to explain everything. My annoyance, my drunkenness, the situation in the middle of the street, with a son of a bitch beating up a defenseless girl. That was almost forced to act. Chrissy looked at me, incredulous, like I was the stupidest guy on the face of the earth. I asked her to please forget this ever happened and not to tell anyone. You are an asshole, lol, she said as she hurriedly put her books away, her eyes watering. I know I'm more of an imbecile am I for trying to make something of profit out of you. One day they are going to kill you, and I don't want to be there to have to see it. She left with her books the way she had come and slammed the door. I should never let her see that newspaper clipping. The conversation with Chrissy had left me very affected, so that same night I approached the south side by subway. I passed by the sidewalk opposite the alley where I had smashed the pimp's face in. It was getting dark. I wanted to see if the girl was coming back. What I saw shocked me. There was Ricky, the pimp, the bully, the big son of a bitch, on the arm of the girl he had beaten up a few days ago. From a distance, I could see how she was giving him affectionate gestures and smiling at him. Ricky, visibly bruised, acting all prim and proper, but letting himself be loved. She seemed to feel responsible for what had happened to him. The whole thing made me want to vomit. I went home in a rage. Chrissy was right. What was the point of this? What the fuck was I doing with my life? I should have fucking gone to training. The finals went as I expected. Whether I had helped or not, I was never going to be a brilliant student, and if I had any chance of having a decent record to go to a third-rate university, a string of poor grades in the first semester killed any chance. The final against Corcoran Knights was far worse. We didn't expect that level. The Corcoran Rangers looked like NFL pros against the cadet team. Chet played a really shitty game, and so did I. They beat us 31-7. We didn't have the slightest chance. The final whistle was a blessing because it ended our suffering. I switched the gesture of defeat and watched the Rangers celebrate with the trophy in the air. I saw Chet throw his hands to his head and heard him mutter, "Fuck my athletic scholarship and mine." If I had a chance, I thought. Coach Stockton tried to boost morale after the loss. It was unbecoming of him, but he couldn't do much more. He talked about winning the title next year, even thought half of us weren't going to be there next year. What the hell? I didn't know where I was going to be next month. So probably that was like a terrible choice to go for Chrissy because she'll see that. I wonder. Bad habits. The day my family broke up completely was shortly before Christmas of '69. This month day of Christmas was a particularly awkward date for the Donovans. It has been years since we had spent them alone. We didn't have any relationship with Uncle Doug or our New York cousins. It made sense. We brought nothing but long face and gloom to the Christmas table. And to top it all off, Nixon had just become the most hated president in American history when, on December, he announced the draft lottery. Anyone over the age of 18 without a student deferment could be drafted. It was a complete shock all the boys my age, especially working class like me, who knew we weren't going to college next year. I didn't need to decide my future anymore. Uncle Sam was going to decide it for me. I was convinced that in a few months I would receive a draft notice and be sent to Vietnam. And if that were not enough, my father's drinking problem had worsened. He didn't have a limit anymore. Many times he drank himself asleep. Paula and I had to carry him like a dead weight and lay him down in bed. Nobody trusted Frank Donovan in the docks anymore. If they didn't kick him out of the unit, it was because his boys were fond of him. I knew what had happened to his wife. Anyway, Dad would get up in a bad mood and start drinking until he went to bed in even worse mood. His habit was now an addiction without any control, and sometimes he would get violent. But one day it was worse than usual. Paul came home late. He had been with the Sobchaks, Eddie Murtaugh, and the other biker cheaters she used to hang out with. Dad, as usual, was shit-faced in front of the TV, with a graveyard of empty beer cans to his right and another pack to be empty to his left. I was in my room when I heard the scream, so I never knew why they started arguing with each other. When I got to the living room, they were face to face, my father with his hand raised to a palm, my brother with his fist clenched, yelling at my father. In here it's always bad. Oh, it's always bad. No, wait. This one you gain that. Hmm. This is always bad as hell. I got in the way. I wasn't going to let him meet Paul, no matter how much of a jerk he was. He charged at me, but he was so drunk that he fell on his ass after he tried to shove me. He bumped against the back of the couch and was in a pose so ridiculous that in other circumstances I would have burst out laughing. Then he stood up humiliated. He staggered towards me and I thought he was going to try to slap me. But he didn't. He did worse. I wish you two had died instead of her, he said. There was silence. What he said tore me apart. I held back the tears as best as I could. My father stared at me blankly for a moment, then picked up his can of Pabst beer from the floor and went back to his couch as if nothing had happened. Paul went to his room. He didn't even thank me. He just went to his room. So I did the same. Once in the room, I burst into tears. I couldn't believe how our house, once a haven filled with love and care, was now a hellhole oozing bitterness and sadness. The collector hadn't just killed my mother, he had killed what the Donovan family stood for. From the year on, we stopped and celebrate Christmas at the Donovan house. Well, in this party, everything will go down. There was nothing you could do. Months passed after that. It was nearing the end of the second semester. My grades weren't great and there were no chance of a scout offering me a scholarship. To be honest, I wasn't that good. I was wondering what the hell I was going to do with my life. Maybe work? On what? What was I good at? Running? Throwing balls? Charging and intercepting? I passed by a select service system recruit office. They had a huge poster that read, Help Vietnam, enlist today. In previous years, Nixon, as if we didn't have enough of the Vietnam War, had invaded Cambodia and Laos. The war was escalating. I had just turned 18. I had never been very interested in military. Dad hardly ever talked about the war, but what little he did talk about was not good. When the military came to lecture us in the high school gym, I never paid the slightest attention. And yet, I went without hesitation and volunteered for the army. At first I thought it was an impulsive, but that I hadn't even thought about it. But as time went by and I analyzed that moment, I realized why I really did. Yes, for the violence. Because it was my obligation as an American, that's why. No, I don't want to do that. Hmm. Damn. I'm going for the violence. I had said it was a joke, but I had always been a person with a tendency to violence. I didn't know if it was something I generated, or if it was something I saw taught unconsciously, but that's how it was. From Tiny Tail to Ricky, the Holly Pimp, violence had been present in my life. The only things I had ever been good at were football and wrestling. That was saying something. Even the event that had affected my family the most was surrounded by death and violence. I guess in a strange way I decided to accept it for what it was, and so I enlisted. I'm starting to get deranged. Oh my god. Prom. The prom was coming. What? Jesus. The prom was coming up so far, and I decided whether or not I was going to go. For one thing, it was an event that many people talk about for years afterwards, as if by not going, you were going to miss out on something incredible. On the other hand, as I say, it was a fucking popularity contest, and I had been the popular kid in high school for a while. I met with Dan, I stayed at home. Let's see, Chrissy. One Tuesday morning I took a walk to St. Louis. Chrissy was surprised to see me there. I tried to be as direct as possible. I told her I didn't have anyone to go to the prom with, which was actually a lie. Several girls had asked me. I was still the running guard for the Tigers. But I wanted to go with Chrissy. I told her it was just a dance and that's it, and we'll go as friends, of course. Still, I'll love to, but she paused to try to say it as gently as she could. I'm already going with Nick to the prom party here at the St. Louis. Wouldn't it be nice if... I told her that I understood perfectly. That it made the most sense to me, and that I knew it was very unlikely that she'll accept. I wish her a good time and left. Why did I think that she'll go with me? Chrissy had a boyfriend. They both went to the same institute, and besides, they look good together. I was the weirdo with the tragic past and the fucked up family. I didn't look as good as Nick Casey in a prom picture. I was on the fence about going or not until the last minute. Going to the prom alone was humiliating, but on the other hand, I didn't feel like staying home that night. In fact, I never felt like staying home. So I dressed in the cheapest tuxedo I could find and took a flask full of wild turkey bourbon. I knew what my goal was: to get hammered. I arrived at the scene was between depressing and ridiculous for me. The only people by themselves were a group of nerds and me. While waiting to get in, I saw a couple of girls who had asked me to go with them hand in hand with their partners. They must have thought I was the stupidest guy in the universe, served me right for being an asshole. Still, I didn't let it sour me. I got there, started drinking, and shared the flask with my fellow nerds. They were cool people. We were chatting and drinking. Not such a bad plan after all. Sam Cooke's Twisting the Night Away was playing, and I had been drinking alone for a while when I saw Chrissy appear in the ballroom. My eyes lit up. She had finally come. She had come for me. I was so happy. I greeted her with a stupid smile on my face. But then I realized she was hitting the roof. She grabbed my arm and pulled me out the ballroom. Chrissy grabbed my hand violently, almost shaking me. She pulled out into the hallway and walked. I asked her, "What's wrong? Really? You haven't listened? What is your urge to go to Vietnam? Why, lol? Why do you feel compelled to seek violence wherever you go?" Crap, someone had told Chrissy about Vietnam. And what a damn gossip neighborhood, for fuck's sake. What, you care? That would be terrible. I don't know. Like, this one you lose with Chrissy. I shrugged my shoulders. And that's your answer, shrug like you always do. You're going to risk your life and you just shrug? You're a fucking idiot. Chrissy almost never swear. I found it funny. You are an idiot, you hear me? You are a fucking idiot, lol. They are going to kill you in there. God, how can you be so blind? I just want to go back to the party. Chrissy chatted and lecture was doing my hand in. I turned to leave, and then Chris jumped on me and kissed me. It was perhaps the most passionate kiss I ever been given. I had never seen her like that. As she kissed me, she unbuckled my belt and unbuttoned my fly. I know I shouldn't. I know you are not good for me. I know you mean trouble, but I can't help it. Why would you say this? That one is impulsive. What else is the other? I stop. That will be stupid. I'm gonna say this. I don't know what. I don't want the first one to be Nick. I want it to be you. I've always wanted to be you. She said, as she reached into my shirt and pushed me onto the bench in the gym box. I felt the touch of her skin against my skin, and even in the gloom of the gym, I could see Chris's eyes boring into mine. I noticed small winds of pain, barely imperceptible, but I didn't have time to ask her if something was wrong. Keep going, she would say to me. She was kissing me. I could tell how the gasps were chopping up. Is her breathing and her scents. I thought I had never seen anything as beautiful as the red-haired woman on my lap. Go on, Lol. She was stroking my hair. I felt my heart pumping blood everywhere. I was nervous, ecstatic, excited. All at once, as creases, and my body moved in unison. Keep going, keep going. In the moonlight, I saw her getting dressed, and I thought that I had to see her again. That I couldn't end there. And she must have thought something similar because she began to speak. Listen to me, I don't expect this to change your mind. She paused for a moment. But promise me you'll come back from Vietnam safe and sound, okay? I know that she came close and kissed me one last time. An innocent kiss full of affection. You promised, right? And she walked away. Okay, at least I get another one in here on thought. And we pushed 6 with Chrissy. Ending. Shortly after that day, I received a letter from Select Service System. It was the date I had given to start the draft. They hadn't waited too long since I had volunteered. Better that than getting a surprise draft notice at home. I was calling for a physical and mental examination. The physical exam was cakewalk for an athlete like me. The mental test was a joke. 6-year-old could pass it. The only thing missing was the question: are you a loony? Check no to go to war. I was over 18, not in school, and had no conditions that would prevent me from going to Vietnam. I was summoned to be taken by bus to Camp Parrish, North Georgia. 8 to 10 weeks of training, and then we'll see where they will send me. My family came to see me off at the bus. It was a pretty cold goodbye. Things were pretty bad at the time, and that's where I went. Oh, you move? Oh.
A Viet Cong flag, one of my war trophies. One day I'm gonna get my mother's wedding ring back from that fucker's dead hands. Yeah?
It's me.
Oh, Lieutenant Cesny.
Don't say my fucking name on the line, damn it.
Come on, I told you this is a safe channel. Just talk.
Okay. Look, we just received a new message from him, from the collector.
Ooh.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. He's been silent for what, 25 years?
Almost, yeah. Listen, meet me at the usual spot in
This is
an
like
hour.
Batman.
Top of the Zenith Tower. Gotcha.
Would you please not... fuck it.
Where's
Yeah,
the signal?
top of the Zenith Tower. I'll see you there.
He has to point the signal to the air. Ah, and it ends like this. Of course it will end, but like the problem, the game is interesting. I'm gonna be honest. The game looks interesting. You know, the choice that will matter in there. The only problem is that you only do a little bit to ask the Vigilant part. The rest is all the backstory of your character that you do on the demo. I understand why they need to put the backstory, because like that will shape your character for the rest of the game. But the problem is that in the demo it will be nice to see more as the Vigilant than the backstory. But I understand that they don't want to spoil too much on as the Vigilant. But this game has a lot of potential to be like to make like a story as the superhero, you know, like you could make like some adventures like Batman, like other superheroes that exist, you know, from DC, Marvel. They can make stories like that. Of course, we don't have superpowers. We are not fucking millionaires, nothing like that. But you know, we are we have our stats to help, and we have a fucking pistol, brass knuckles, and a knife. What better than that? So, but it can be interesting. It depends on what stories there will be. There will be this part of the collector, and then there was other one that say that was a story for another time. But I wonder what that can be. But it depends a lot on what's gonna happen, because you have relationships with the other people, like in the backstory, Greasy, Shet, Dan, and depends a lot. And then of course your family. But depends if those people will have influence. As you are a vigilant or not, so it depends a lot. But if you like this type of games, you know, visual novel, of course, where you need to read and then choose choice that you think are more interesting for you, of course, because it can be different for everyone depending on the choice. But hopefully the rest of the story as a vigilante is interesting, like fighting against villains, if you want to say like that. Let's hope that it's interesting. So, but these guys know how to make a game. Like American Arcadia was pretty good, the story, so they know how to make a story. So we have to wait until it comes out in full, because doesn't have a date. I think it only says 2024 or coming soon or something like that. So there's not even a date to be put. But hopefully the story is very interesting once you are as a Vigilant, because the backstory is only a backstory. So yeah, if you like this type of games, you can download them. It's already available. And if you play them and you like it, don't forget to wishlist the game, because it helps the developers, and of course it helps the game to get more visibility on Steam. So see you on next time.